Hi, it's Joe Manganiello again. You've seen me in the past building a 6-footer. I built a bench, and now I'm continuing a construction of an 8-foot picnic table. The frame, the basic frame, the A-frame, is exactly the same as the 6-foot picnic table. The only difference actually is the length of it, and those are 8-foot boards. So now I'm going to continue on building the frame of the 8-foot table. Now, like I said, for anybody who has been following the building of a picnic table, this frame is exactly the same as the frame on a 6-foot table. I'm drilling 3/8 diameter holes into these 2x6 seat supports. I mentioned that fact that these are 3-inch diameter holes for the 3-inch carriage bolts that are going in them, because on my first program when I was building the 6-footer, I mentioned that those holes were 3/4 of an inch, using a 3/4 inch bit. Now you can imagine drilling a hole that large and then trying to put a 3/8 carriage bolt in it. It would have been quite roomy. What I have done on the frame is I applied 2 bolts to the top section and 4 bolts to the bottom section. Each bolt is approximately 1 inch up from the bottom of the seat support and 1 inch in from the side of the seat support. Same thing with the top bolts. Approximately. You can measure up with the drill. You don't have to go and use a measurement. Now that takes care of the drilling and the placing of the carriage bolts. Now once I take this out of place on the back, where the screws are sticking out, I have to apply a washer and a nut. So I'll put this one aside because I have to build a second one. The second one you're going to see from scratch. No, I didn't say I was itching that I had a scratch. I'm starting from the beginning. Take a leg. And let's see how I'm going to place the better side. Always the smoothest side, always want to be on the outside. At my 20-inch mark on this frame, the legs are spaced 20 inches apart. If anybody that doesn't have this frame that I showed on the first program, they are 20 inches apart. Move this side out. It's 20 inches apart from the outside to the outside of the legs. And if you can remember the angle cuts, these angles here are 60 degrees. And on your miter, on your saw, if you have a 30-degree mark, that's also 60 degrees if you cut it in the right direction. Anybody that's used a table saw will understand what I mean. So if you don't understand, I'm sure your neighbor does. Call them up and tell them to cut the pieces for you if you don't have a table saw. It's a lot easier, I'll tell you. And then, of course, there's the table support goes up on the top. That's 29 inches long, by the way. Get something wrong here for a minute. What's this one here? Like I said, those are 20 inches apart. This top board that supports the top of the table is 29 inches in length. Now I'm going to measure for where the bolts go, which I already have predetermined on my jig here. I mark off the center of the table, being half of 29. I mark the holes where the bolts are going to go. I'll do the same thing with the seat support section. That's 9 inches up from the bottom of the seat support, bottom of the board. When I get to that part, I'll show you what I mean. Now I'm going to drill my 3/8 holes into the top. Try to be careful and not move these pieces around when you're applying the drilling and the bolts here, because you throw your measurements off and your table is just going to come out crooked. So in case of any movement that I have made while drilling these holes, I'm just going to check to make sure that everything is in the right spot. Now we get back to the seat support. Like I said, it was measured 9 inches from the bottom of the leg and up to the bottom of the seat support, and I picked the best side of the board. Place it down on the marks that I had put before, and I'm going to find the center of the seat support. The seat support is 58.5 inches in length, if you recall from the first show. So half of 58.5. If you recall how fast I knew the center was 29.25. Reason being, I have it written down. I don't think I would be able to come up with a measurement that fast because my brain doesn't operate that way. Only when I'm writing novels, in case you don't remember. I'm also the man who wrote Caroline, and I'm also Jim Hollow's alter ego. Jim Hollow, private detective. Yeah, that's another story. Now, I take this square, place it on the center mark on the top of the support board, and I line it up so that the seat support's in the center that I measured at. And now I know the seat supports are going to be equal on both sides. So make a little mark. And then make sure that the bottom of the seat support is up with those lines that I drew at the 9-inch mark. And just make sure I also check the ends. They should be about 12.25 from the leg out to the end of the seat support. Couldn't be any perfect than that, I'll tell you that. And again, I drill the holes. 3/8. First one, you may have seen me drill a hole, put a bolt in, and then another one here. That was wrong. We shouldn't do it that way. I've been doing so many of these tables that I know this side isn't moving. But if you're building your first table, after you drill the first hole on this side, and you go directly across to the opposite leg, and drill another hole there. 1 inch in, 1 inch down. Secure that with a bolt. Now with those two pieces drilled and bolted, there's no chance of it moving when you drill the bottom holes. 1 inch up, 1 inch over. For safety purposes, make sure that plug's out of your way. You can go ahead and drill the next hole on the other side too, because it isn't going to move. I got a knot in my way, so I can't use the 1 inch. I'm going to come over a little more than 1 inch, but it's still 1 inch up. I want to avoid that knot because that's very, very hard wood, and it could really dull up a bit. Now I apply the last 2 bolts. And as luck has it, I had just enough bolts, so I'd have to go down to the hardware store. And I always go to Cataldo, a very good hardware store right down the center of Rentham. It has everything you need. I was surprised when I went in there. I wanted, one time I think I went in there and I wanted, what did I want? I forgot what I wanted, but it was something you couldn't find in Bradley's. Bradley's a great big store, but this one simple little thing, I can't recall what it was. I know it was something silly that, you know, that Bradley didn't have it. Let's put it that way. I went down to Cataldo's and voila, they had 2 or 3 of these. I wish I knew what they remember what they were, because it's kind of bad publicity, isn't it? But anyway, Cataldo's is the place to go. If you're ever in Rentham or the local area and you need something, go to Cataldo's. Believe me, I've been with them for years. Always had what I wanted. Marilyn is a nice woman, very, very pleasant. Her children work there, the sons and the daughter and the husband. And they not only sell hardware, but they also chat with you. And that's part of the friendliness of that store. And you will always want to go back in. Now that completes the second A-frame. Now, like I said, I got to put the washers and the bolts and secure these frames together. Putting the washers on first, 3 on each side, and the bolts. Those are 3/8 flat washers, 3/8 nuts. That's the diameter inside, the thread diameter. The outside is 9/16. So when you're tightening up the nuts onto the washers, you're going to use a 9/16 wrench. Socket wrench, closed end wrench, open end wrench, adjustable wrench. Adjustable wrench, of course, you make your own with. I'm using fast speed. I'm using a drill, 1/2-inch drill with, hope it is, 9/16 socket on the end of it. Whiz them right on. It's more like torquing when you reach the wood. The drill always tells you when to stop. I want to tighten that up a little more. It didn't seem like it was tightening right. That's better. I'm using a new socket, and it wants to stick a little. I'm using a Craftsman's 1/2-inch and a snap-on socket wrench. Socket. Both are good. Both are guaranteed. Anything happens to them, well, not the drill, but anything happens to the socket, I just bring it back to snap-on and they'll replace it free of charge. Guaranteed for life. And the same thing with the second one. Maybe what I'll do is have our cameraman come in for a close-up. Can you do that, Mr. Cameraman? Come in for a close-up. the washers on this side and the nuts on this side, one side of the leg, so that you can see how they go on. Washer first, then a nut. The washer keeps the nut from spinning into the wood, and also adds as a compression when you're tightening it up. It'd be good when I get to the, I'll save the top one. When I get to the top one, I'll come in, have the cameraman come in for a good close shot so you can see how it goes into the wood. Alright, now we'll have the cameraman come in close to this top one so you can see how it binds the nut into the wood, how it chews it up and comes snug. You can see over here, right close, you can see the washer and you can see the nut. And I'm going to take this power drill and I'm going to zip up on it. I was in reverse, folks. You hear the drill? There you go. That takes care of the two frames. All I got to do is put the stuff on the other end. One thing about going live is everything is on tape. You don't take a second take. Even when the machine goes backwards. Oh boy, we got trouble one here. Try again. Let's try this again. There we are, all locked up. I might have said before that that takes care of the lathe, but I forgot about securing this side. So now it's secure, and we'll begin to build the top. Now, what I have done at this point, I have set up the two frames for the 8-foot table. The frames are set at a 5-foot distance. I've placed a ruler on the ground and I measured off 5 feet. What I'm doing here is looking over some 8-foot boards. These you can get at the lumber yard at 8 feet. Go to a good lumber yard, one that will let you pick out the lumber. That way you can pick out the best pieces that you can find. And these are 2x6s, 8 foot in length. And what I'm going to do is look for the best boards for the outside of the tabletop. See, one side is usually rougher than the other side. One edge smooth and one edge is rough. And I want to put the smoothest side on the outside of the table. And the same thing with the top. I try to pick the best side of the board. But actually, the best side should be where the board curves. If you look at the end of the board, you look at the cut. It's curved. And they call that concave and convex. You want the what they call the box side up. And that also means you can get board with the bark still on it. You know the outer part of the tree, the bark? That's the bark side. Now you want to try to get boards that don't have any bark on it. And now I'm in progress of process, let's use the right words. I'm in process of looking for 2 good boards for each side of the table. Maybe Mr. Cameraman will help me select the boards. I don't know. But we'll look them over and try to get the best two pieces. Well, you know what they say in life, you never get what you want. Well, let's rephrase that. You always never get what you want. It's the same thing with wood. I never can find exactly the perfect boards for what I want to use them for. But these are the most reasonable. They have nice smooth edges on them. This edge is the smoothest. And therefore, this is where I mean the outside of the table. Right? And the same thing for this section. This is the smoothest edge. It's going to go on the outside. But I'm going to put one on at a time. So I'm going to remove one of them so that I can get in here and nail this board down. I'm using a 3-inch nail. I'll just let this rest over here for a second. 3-inch nails. Galvanized. I'm going to use it for outside. Use galvanized nails so that they won't rust up in the weather. I put the first board along the edge of the table, flush with the edge of the support. And I'm going to measure it. The distance from the outside of the board. From this edge to the edge of the support is, I forgot. I have to look it up in my book. You see, it's like Norm Abram says on the Yankee Workshop, cut once, nail once. Well, before I go and nail wrong, I'm going to look up the measurements of the 8-foot table for distance. Alright, from the end of the top to the edge of the support is 16.5 inches. And I find the best way to get that so it comes out square is to use a square. This is a king size one. That's a small one. This is what they call a rafters square. People who are in the carpentry business that build roofs use this type of square. It comes in handy for me also. So I put the square edge with everywhere on the end of the board, and I find the 16.5 inch. Then I take the other smaller square and I line it up against 16.5, and I push the board up so it hits the bottom part, this part of the square, hits the edge of the support. Now I know I'm at 16, and I can also square the support. When I nail it, I want to make sure everything is exactly what it's supposed to be. Now, actually, I should start on the other end first, but so that you can see what I'm doing on the camera, I start on the opposite end. So that means I attach the other end. I want to nail this side first. I always lose my hammer. I found my hammer. Now I'm going to do is straddle the board, because I don't want it all to fall apart. I'm going to straddle the board, sit on it, gives me a chance to rest for a second. I just made it a little flush, let it overhang just about a 64th of an inch, just a fingernail overhang. And get that nail in about an inch in from the edge of the board, and in the center of the support, and also what they call a toe in. It's coming in at an angle. one nail only, temporarily. Then I move down, place a nail in the opposite end. Same thing, I take my framing square, put it on the edge, look up 16.5. I take the other one, so like the smaller square, so I can square the end of the frame along with the edge. And now I gotta reach my hammer. And again, it's hard in my back, but I gotta straddle the board with the nail in. Perhaps you may want to see that close up. Maybe Mr. Cameraman will come in for a close up. Would you do that, Mr. Cameraman? Alright, I'm straddled across the board. I took my framing square and I run it up to the edge of the board. And I took the small square and lined it up at 16.5-inch mark right there. I got the nail in the wood, that's why I don't have this up to the edge, but that's where you would run the framing square, up to the edge. Take everything off. Now you got my nail toed in this way, like that, only this direction. I proceed to nail it down. Now, I'll show you this part now, but this is something I do later. After I got all the boards down, after I got all the nails in, I take a punch like this, and I place it on the top of the nail, and I sink the nail a little bit below the wood. Usually 3 whacks, 4 whacks will do the trick. Also, make sure you don't hit your hand. 4 whacks, that's just below the wood. So, you know, especially on the seats, somebody won't come along and snag their clothes on the nail. It gives it a good finished effect too. Now, what I'm going to do is install the other side, and when I'm ready to do the next step, we'll have Mr. Cameraman come in again. Alright, I have the 2 boards picked out for the seat. Again, as I stated before, we want to try to put the oh, that's alright, best edge on the outside. Reasonably smooth board on top of it too. I can take this ruler out of the way because once you put those 2 boards on the top, you don't need it. And again, it's 16 inches from the edge of the board to the seat support. Get all my equipment over there. What you call organization, you know? Yeah, well, we take a square, get a couple of these boards out of my way. Now, an 8-foot table, unless you have a helper, you can't complete its entirety in one spot. For example, I spilled this in my garage, and the roof is only so high in the garage, so I can't turn the table over because 8 feet are heavy. Can't turn it over to finish the bottom. What I mean by the bottom is I got diagonal braces to put on the side, and cleats and center boards and everything. This is as far as I'll go as far as constructing the table inside the garage. Then I'll show you a trick, magic trick, on how to get the table outside. I don't know if it's called, well, when we get to that point, you'll see what I mean. Toed in. Carefully measure them all, don't try to guess. When the table comes out like that, you don't have to move it. You know it's going to come out well. Ride my back. Alright, go to work. Do exactly the same thing with the other side. I will measure this, nail it down, then I'm going to square it, and then I'll show you how to get the table out of the garage. You may have seen me use this item before. This is a large square for squaring plywood, actually, 4x8 sheets of plywood. But I also use it to square the table before I put the rest of the nails on the top boards. What I do is I take this section of the square and run it along the leading edge of the table up along the side of the table like that. And this table happens to end up square, so I don't have to jiggle it around. And as a double check, I'll also check the seats against the table. We won't need this support anymore. I'll take that out of the way. Now I take this square here. You don't have to go out and buy one of these. These cost around $20, maybe more today because I bought this about 5 years ago. And slide it up the edge, inside edge of the bench. Square it. Beautiful fit. Maybe the cameraman will bring it up for a close-up. Now, we got it squared. I can take this out. I always get in the habit of putting my equipment away that I don't need. Place for everything, and everything in its place, as they say. That way, when I'm all done, I put nothing away except the table. I'm going to put the rest of the nails on this table so they won't get out of square. Toe in on this side of the board. Now I'm going to have 2 nails on each board, each side. I try to do all one side, and then the opposite side. Finishing up with the back. Now I can move this table around without it coming out of square. Now this is as far as I can go in my garage, because my garage is not high enough for what I have to do next, nor is it wide enough for what I have to do next. A 6-foot table I would have no trouble with, but an 8-foot, because of the extra 2 feet, I have to bring it outside. Now there's a particular way to carry this out, especially when you have one person. If I had 2 people with me, no problem. I can finish the whole table, the top, bring it outside, turn it upside down, and finish it. But since I don't have a helper, this is the way you do it. You get the inside, like this, and find yourself in the balance of the table where you can pick it up, bend your legs, whenever you're going to pick up something heavy so you don't strain yourself, and grab just the right spot so the whole table will come up. like that. See? Look at that exercise, right? And what I'm going to do with it is walk right out of the garage with it, like this. See? This is about as far in the yard as I'll come. Because I'm going to flip this table over. No, I'm not going to. After I finish putting 5 boards on here, then I'm going to turn it over. So that'll be my next stage. I'm going to go pick out some boards, and I'll be right back. What I've done, I just placed all the boards on the table just to pick the best ones for effect. Now to space the boards so that there's a small opening in between each board, what I do, I take a couple of large spikes place them in between the boards. But there'll be an equal distance between each board when I nail it down. Maybe Mr. Cameraman will come in for a close-up and show you that. It's always good to line the middle board up first. I had some marks on the table support that I had put on when I was building the frame, just to make sure that it looks good as far as the space in between. Looks nice, very nice. Now with those big spikes in place, now I can proceed nailing these boards from the top. Again, just like when I started the table, one nail in. One nail first. Then the other side. One nail. Lean it against the spike. Toe in. Now I can remove the spikes. I do the same thing with the board on this side. Put the spikes in there. You notice I'm lining my edge up so it's nice and flush. Nice and flush. Proceed with one nail. Toe in. Check it over here. Push the board forward so it's against the spike. Toe in. Pull your spikes up. Then you continue on. Well, you did the 2 outside ones. The middle one hopefully will line up. I put the spike in. It'll fit on both sides. Put a spike there and a spike there. I'll have to use judgment. Just kind of make it even as far as the spaces are in between. And one nail to hold that in place. Mosquitoes are coming out. You may not see them, but you'll hear me slapping them. Now you got all those done. Now we're going to put the nails in the other end. And I'll do the same thing with the seats. Upon completion of this, I turn the table upside down and finish the bottom. It's getting pretty late in the evening. It's 8 o'clock now. I'll finish this and show you how to do the bottom tomorrow. Of course, when you view this, it'll be the same day. How do I explain that in real time? For example, today is Saturday, right? And I'm going to complete it Sunday. But when you see it on Channel 8, it'll be the same day. Never mind. Well, here it is, the next day. I got to do a little bit of explaining first. Actually, it's 2 days later. I told you that I began constructing the table Saturday, and I was going to finish it Sunday. What happened? It rained all day Sunday. So this is Monday evening. And of course, I have the top of the table completed. What has to be done next is applying pieces on the bottom, such as this diagonal brace, which will fit underneath the table in that manner. There's two of them, one on each end. A center support supports the boards in the middle of the table from warping. And the same thing with these thinner boards. These are called cleats. How could I say it better? C-L-E-A-T-S, cleats. And those go on the end underneath the table. And that keeps these tabletop boards from going up and down. In other words, warping like that. You know, or going that way. And then I had these smaller ones, 4 of them, one underneath. These 4 are going underneath the seats, one on each end and on the seats on the other side. To do that, I have to turn the table upside down, and all of this stuff that I have on top of the table naturally is going to have to be removed. I'm using 2.5-inch nails, nailing from the bottom, because if I use 3-inch, they're liable to come out, stick outside the top here, and that wouldn't be very nice. And for the cleats, the thinner boards, I'm going to use 1.5 inches. Now this is going to be a trick. I have to lift the table this direction. There, like that. And it's going to go right over. You have to get on this side and guide it down. And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's 3 boards on the ground that the table is resting on. That's the upside down part. Now I will begin with the diagonal brace. I'll put this one in there. And I'm going to use the 2.5-inch nails. Let's see what's the best way to, so you can see this. One side is cut long, and the other side is cut shallow, an angle. This is a 60 degree cut. This is a, I don't remember, I think it's a 38 degree cut. The longer cut goes on the bottom of the table, and this part against the seat support along the middle board of the table. And we tack one down below. That'll hold it in place. And if you recall, when I was building the frame, I put a center mark on the seat support so that I can put this diagonal board right on the center mark, and I'm going to drive 3 nails to the front. One on the bottom, that's 2, and 1 in the middle. Then I'll do the exact same thing on the other end of the table. There's a good close-up of all the 3 nails. And now, like I said, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other end of the table. And then we will put the center board on. And finish the diagonal board on that side. I always going to put this center support in the center. That's why it's called the center support. On the first board that I'm nailing it to, I'm going to use 3 nails. I'll do the exact same thing on this end of the table on the last board, but the 3 remaining boards will have 2 nails apiece. I'm crisscrossing and also towing. I leave enough space in this middle board in case the owners of this table want to put a hole for an umbrella. Well, you don't have to drill a hole through the nails. And once again, on this last board, I'm putting 3 nails. Cleats, the larger one, like I said, going right along the whole bottom underneath the top of the table. I leave a space here about 1 inch, and equal distance of the edges is probably about a 1/2 inch, because this table from end to end is 29 inches and this board is 28. And this board that's going as a cleat on the bottom here, I'm going to use 1.5 inch galvanized nails. I'll probably have to put 4 in each section. Make sure it's got a good hold. We'll see. I'll put 4 and 2 and 4 and 2. I'll crisscross them. And then 4. Two crisscross. And then on the last one, 4. What this cleat does is prevent these tabletop boards from twisting as they settle. That's the reason it's there. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the bench. Now with the bench part, I got a lot of space here, so if I try to nail this cleat down without any weight support over here, it's going to probably bend it. It won't give me a good momentum. So I have this small 2x6 that I cut out that fits right underneath the bench. It gives it some sort of support. Now I've got a solid base to nail. I always try to put the cleanest side of the cleat on the outside. Again, about 1 inch in. And these are probably about 1 inch distance on each side. This one I put 3 nails on each side. First the 2 middle ones. One for that section of the seat and one in this section. Then 2 on the outside. That left side and then the right side. It forms like a V. There. Then I can remove this board on the bottom. So I have a cleat on the seat, the bottom of the seat, a larger cleat on the bottom of the table. Now I have to go all the way around the table, and I got to put another large cleat on the opposite side and 3 more of these, 1 on this end of the bench and 2 on the other end of the bench. Why don't we put this large one on first. 1 inch in, about a 1/2 inch on the edges. Like I said before, the cleat is 28 inches in length and the tabletop itself is 29. And we put 4. Try to go as fast as I can. One nail bent on me here. We always have minor technical problems, but before they get any worse, you repair it. For example, I took that bent nail out and put another one in. That's 4, and then 2 crisscross. As an extra safety precaution on the diagonal brace, I'm going to add another 3-inch nail just a little bit higher up on the diagonal brace. The table is complete. Now we got to flip the table back up. Right side up. And it takes a little bit of power. Oh, yeah. Well, the table's been completed. Built an 8-foot table, and it took 3 days. Well, actually, it didn't take 3 days because I explained that way back where it rained yesterday, so I had to postpone it. So I completed this beautiful 8-foot table, and I hope the person I built it for is going to be very happy. If they want to build a hole in the middle for an umbrella, build a hole in the middle, stain it, have a picnic on it this next coming weekend. It should last maybe 10, 15 years if they take care of it. This is Joe Manganiello building a mag picnic table, saying so long for now and see you around.